Welcome to the IREL podcast. Are you sick and tired of real estate gurus pitching their next free construction deal only to find out years later they were completely wrong? Worried the next overseas conference you spend thousands to attend will only be used to sell overpriced lots in deserted developments? Join thousands of other international real estate seekers who are looking for their place in paradise without the sales pitch. Straight from your host, Taylor White.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Questions 2 episode of the IREL podcast. I am your host, Taylor White. Head on over to irelpodcast.com/Q2 for complete show notes. We have a solo episode today with yours truly, and I want to address two great questions I have received from listeners of this podcast. Let's jump into it. Question 1 comes from Michelle. Taylor, can you better explain what overseas or international might mean for you on your podcast? Well, absolutely, Michelle. And to be honest, it could really be any number of words like international, overseas, worldwide, and anything else along these lines. I guess the real definition of this would be any country you are not in. So if you're from the United States, it's international real estate except inside the U.S. If you are from Australia, it's all overseas real estate other than what's located in Australia. Obviously, if you are from a country and we cover real estate from that country, to you, it's domestic real estate and not international. So really, to be honest, it's more a play on words. Initially, the podcast was going to be all about non-U.S. locations simply because that was the focus of the podcast as I was born and raised stateside. But as we have listeners from over 26 countries currently, including the U.S., Guatemala, UK, Turkey, Canada, Panama, Costa Rica, Philippines, Ecuador, Mexico, Spain, Dominican Republic, Nicaragua, Russia, Jamaica, Switzerland, Netherlands, Ireland, India, Colombia, Saudi Arabia, El Salvador, Venezuela, Cyprus, and Italy, and growing each day, more and more listeners have written in and said, hey, what about Miami or San Diego or Scottsdale or Las Vegas? So I'll be working on locations inside the United States as well, especially for our non-U.S. listeners who to them, the U.S. is overseas. And by the way, this podcast isn't anti-U.S. in any way. And if you're looking for shows about how the U.S. is doomed or how the dollar will fall off a cliff or how you can live like a king or queen on 12 cents a day in some exotic country, drop me a note and I can point you in the right direction. Or shall I say, the right direction for the wrong information. Okay, and question 2 comes from Amanda. Taylor, I'm from a small town in Canada, and many friends I have here vacation in Latin America during the very cold winter months. Some of them have taken the advice of newsletter writers and bought in developments that were supposed to have been completed in a few years and never were, undervalued buys that were a fraud, and told how cheap certain places were to live a great lifestyle, which turned out to be completely false. How are you any different? Well, Amanda, big loaded question, but I will try and answer the best way I can. First off, as I have stated many times on the podcast, I am not an international real estate guru, nor pretend to play one on iTunes. I have been buying and selling real estate since the age of 22, and during that time have found a huge flaw in the overseas real estate niche. You can sit at home and watch amazing house hunting type shows on TV, which get you all excited about some cheap tropical beach hotspot, but then you have no way of contacting anyone from the show. So you then go online and Google the area you just watched on TV and come across sales pages and sales videos about some international guru's secrets on living and investing in your chosen hotspot. You then sign up for some free email newsletter, which comes with free bonus gifts, and therefore are bombarded and spammed about how you can live like a king or queen on pennies a day. It's always 70 degrees with a slight breeze. Everything you need in life is a fraction of the cost, and wait for it, we have the one amazing, always traveling real estate guru who has more contacts than the world's leaders combined. And if you sign up for his or her service, you will be given the golden key that unlocks real estate savings you have only dreamed about. The problem, of course, is that this guru is some thousands of miles away from the area they are promoting, probably never even wrote the sales copy they sent to you with their name on it, quite possibly never visited or haven't visited for a long time the area you are reading about, and are only doing so because they get a huge commission check if and when trusting people like yourself invest. Amanda, as it sounds like you listen to this podcast, let me remind you of what I pound home on just about every episode. I am speaking with local and on-the-ground insiders. This podcast is 1% about me asking the questions and 99% about the real estate professionals giving us their take. I know for a fact when Mike Vitovich from episode 1 was giving us his insights about Coronado, Panama, he is doing so from the position of actually living there. When Brock Squire from episode 3 is talking about the romantic zone in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, it's coming from the point of view of being there on the ground for over 30 years. When Kelly McFarland in Didim, Turkey from episode 7 is breaking down where she recommends her clients to buy, it's coming from the on-the-ground insider whose company won the 2010 AIPP Excellence Award for top medium-sized real estate agency. Amanda, let me ask you a question. Would you rather get an email from some self-proclaimed guru who supposedly last visited the place they are recommending years ago, or listen to a podcast that has on the person who is actually living, conducting business, and has local on-the-ground insights? As I like to say, the information you get comes directly from their mouths to your earbuds with absolutely no filters and no fluff. Two great questions, and if you have any questions for me, head on over to irelpodcast.com/Q2 and ask away.
You have been listening to the IREL Podcast with Taylor White. Be sure to hit up irelpodcast.com for more. That's irelpodcast.com. Thanks for listening.